Right now, you're wearing something. You probably didn't think about that decision for more than a few seconds this morning. Maybe you grabbed whatever was closest. Maybe you checked the weather. Either way, you put something on before you walked out the door. Because that's what humans do. We cover ourselves. Every culture on Earth, in every climate, across every era of recorded history wears clothes. You might think early humans started wearing clothes for simple reasons: modesty, protection, warmth. Except none of those are the real reason we started covering ourselves. And when you find out what actually drove early humans to cover their bodies, it changes how you think about fashion, culture, language, and what it means to be the kind of creature that looks in a mirror and feels the weight of being seen. Let's look at the timeline. Anatomically, modern humans have been around for roughly 300,000 years. But when you look at the actual evidence, you'll find things like bone needles and hide scraping tools only showing up around 120,000 years ago, and even that estimate is generous. Most textile historians place the widespread adoption of clothing at around 75,000 years ago, which means for the first half of our existence we were mostly naked, under the same African sun, dealing with thorns, insects, and cold nights with nothing but our naked bodies. Which immediately rules out the most common explanation: warmth. Yes, humans eventually moved into colder climates where clothing became essential. But clothing shows up before that while we were still in the tropics. So warmth matters later. The next explanation people reach for is protection. Thorns, rocks, insect bites. And sure, that's part of it. But here's the issue. If protection were the main reason, clothing would have started on the parts that actually took the most damage: feet and hands. Instead, the earliest clothing in almost every culture covered the torso and groin first, the areas least exposed. That's not purely practical. It points to something else. Then there's the lice theory, and this one's actually fascinating. Back in 2003, a group of geneticists looked at something unexpected: lice. Not just any lice, but the split between head lice and body lice. Head lice live in hair, body lice live in clothing. They literally can't survive without fabric. So scientists traced when these two types split from each other. And that gives a clue about when humans started wearing clothes consistently enough for a whole new species to depend on it. The answer: approximately 170,000 years ago. That's the oldest hard biological timestamp we have for clothing. Not some bone needle or a scraping tool, but because of a parasite. And that gives a clue when humans started wearing clothes, partly because something evolved specifically to live in them. But that date still doesn't tell us why. It tells us when the behavior was already established. The actual origin goes back further than we can currently measure. The reason lies somewhere deeper than fabric and needles and lice. Here's what researchers have started to argue: clothing wasn't a practical invention, it was a symbolic one.